What's going on, everybody? My name's Malibu, and welcome to my first YouTube tutorial. I'm going to be walking you guys through the remix that I just did for Zedd, for the Inside Out remix competition, and how I ended up winning. So I watch a lot of YouTube videos where people ramble, so I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to hop right into the production. So let's get to it. So for every song, what I like to do is introduce the main element of the drop or elements of the drop into the build-up. It kind of prepares the listener's brain for what they're about to hear. I just think it makes things really cohesive overall. So that's basically what I did. Nothing too complicated. I just added in the vocal chops from the drop and put them into the build-up. And I just low pass and high pass it a little bit. EQ'd most of the most present frequencies out just so you could kind of get a taste of the melody. And then I have, I coupled that with a little guitar mute, which is just a stock Ableton plugin if you have Max for Live, which I highly recommend. That's literally it. It's under guitar and bass, and I just kind of copied the melody from the vocal chops for that. And then I do have this chord that I like to use a lot, which is, I titled it, This Is Literally Just Brass, because it does kind of feel very reminiscent of what a brass strike or stab would sound like. It's a really, really powerful patch, and it's extraordinarily simple. As you can see, there's almost no post-processing, just a little bit of EQ, OTT, and I'm automating reverb as the build comes. It kind of just washes out a little bit towards the end there, and I'm assuming that EQ will follow the same pattern, which yes, it does. And yeah, this is the patch. It's literally just the default Ableton waveform, or I guess the basic shape version of that, which would be a saw wave, and it just has some distortion, a little bit of diode 1. The drive is actually at 0, but the dry wet is at 82%. And the thing is, the reverb is what makes this patch so aggressive. If you listen to it, it sounds nice. It sounds nice as is, but when you add that reverb in, you can kind of just copy these settings if you'd like to. I'm not sure why it does this, but I'm assuming it kind of acts the same way that a reverb filter does. But in my opinion, using the actual reverb effects plugin is a game changer. For whatever reason, maybe it's just how the plugin operates, but take a listen to the difference here. It makes it a lot more wide, obviously, but it also just gives this extremely warm feeling. So I use it in almost every song that I make recently, and there's a lot of stuff you can mess around with that with. And that is also the main stab element in the drop. And I just kind of added a really simple chord patch as an additional layer. Maybe I'll turn the sidechain off so that you guys can hear it a little better and it's not so choppy. And then that was my what I'm using as a saw bass underneath. I think that's just a Virtual Riot preset that I may have tweaked a little bit. And altogether, that stab group sounds like this. And then I just kind of added some higher harmonies here for the end of the first 4 bars. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk vocal chops. Basically, that is exactly what they are. They're just pieces of Griff's vocal that I have sliced according to my desire, starting with this guy right here. This is kind of like the outro of the original song. So yeah, that's basically what that sounds like, and then I just kind of slice and dice them. Nothing too crazy. I'll take off the effects for you guys so you can see. Again, we have a looks like a default overdrive, a little bit of chorus, not too much, and then I'm automating a little bit of the tail end of the, I guess, tail end of each bar of the vocal chops, just so it kind of swooshes into the next bar, like that. And a little OTT and a little tiny bit of EQ, just bringing out those high end frequencies slightly. So yeah, we'll go ahead. It's honestly, these vocals were processed beautifully, so I didn't really have to do anything. And when you're doing a remix for an artist like Zedd, I mean, the production on his original stems are going to be top tier. He is an incredible producer. So really not much. The only thing that's really driving the sound a little bit further is maybe that EQ, the OTT, and the overdrive for sure, to bring out those mid to high frequencies, make it a little more present. Cool, so that was sounding good. The next thing is this layer that I have underneath the original vocal chops. It's just a layer that I created that's going to be extremely wide. Sorry, I don't have those turned on, but the reverb 100% wet, very short decay time, and then 100% wet on the chorus, and that just kind of gives it a lot more width and just kind of brings the whole drop to life, in my opinion. So here's what that sounds like without any other layers. So if you're using headphones or nice monitors, you can obviously tell how wide that is. But if you're not, if you're on a computer or like a phone or something, you're probably not going to be able to tell much of a difference, or you may not be able to hear it at all. And so I think there's actually, it almost has like a little bit of a delay effect, because the wide vocal chops have kind of they're almost like a slight step behind the main vocal chops, and you can kind of hear that in these little spaces right here, right there, right there, and right there. It kind of fills out those spaces nicely without being too in your face. So that's why I ultimately decided to put that in. It just worked super well, and I think that's kind of the moment that the entire drop came together for me. So I'll play it with and without. Good, but a little, you see there could be a little more going on there. So that's what happened when I added these guys in. Hear that kind of like delay sound in there. Yeah, so that just worked out really nicely, and that was kind of the moment that it all came together for me. So, and that is the vocal chops. Okay, so now I'm going to get into like the bass line, which is also a very important part of this drop, I feel. First of all, the 808, a little bit of saturation, and I like to use this hiss from Erosion, another stock Ableton plugin. If you know me, and if you're watching this, you obviously could tell stock Ableton plugins all the way. I've been able to pretty much produce every song in my discography with only stock Ableton plugins. I hardly use any third-party stuff, hardly. Serum's like my number one. So this is like the main element of the bass line, is just the Serum patch, which I'll go ahead and just let you guys hear that without any plugins. There's pretty much nothing else going on over here. Whoops, jeez, sorry, I moved my computer. Just a little bit of EQing. So that's what that looks like, pretty simple. And really no post-processing there. The main effect on this is this guitar rig. This stereo tune specifically on here is what makes it feel so wide. If you're wearing headphones, you can tell. If you're listening on monitors, you can tell that. But if you're watching on a phone or laptop speakers, you probably can't tell the difference. But I like how wide that feels. So then, yeah, with the Erosion, again, a little OTT, as always. It's like the sprinkle on top. And then for the layers here, we just have a couple harmonies happening. Something very simple. This is like as simple of a Serum patch as it gets. And yep, that's literally it. I don't think there's anything, maybe a little distortion there, but just a very simple waveform. One of the basic ones that comes with Serum and another LFO. So this is the second layer here. Sounds great to me. And then I just kind of added one more little layer on top, which is just a decap percussion sample. So now let's add all that in together. It's sounding really good so far. I'm going to take out the percussion. Let's add in our bass line with our, let's see, stab group. Now with the vocal chops. All right, and so as for percussion, there's not much really going on here. It's pretty simple. I didn't think it needed to be overly complicated or anything. I just kind of have this kick and just a little EQ going on. That's pretty much it. And same thing there. I just guess I use this as kind of a top kick, top layer. Bring out those highs a little bit in the kick. But I've tried to use this kick in other songs since, and it doesn't really work. So I was very specific for this song, I guess. And then as for my clap, we just have a couple little layers here. And then on the last clap of each bar, I just did a little pre-sweep and I don't know, just kind of a little bit of variation there. Little cymbal hit there, little cymbal hit here. And then I did use, here's a nice trick too, is using, just search transient on Splice, and you'll get a good amount of these little things, which are just kind of like tiny percussion samples. And I use that to just kind of emphasize, I think I was using it to emphasize the bass line a little more and just have it be a little more punchy, have a little more click to it. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Let's listen to all of it together and see how it sounds. Well, cool. Thank you guys for tuning into my first YouTube tutorial. Like I said, I wanted to keep this short and sweet and just kind of focus on the main elements of the song. So feel free to ask me questions. I will, again, be replying to everybody. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not subscribed. It would mean a lot to me. Peace out.